All right, I guess I'm live. How about that? Had a couple of problems getting some buttons working this morning. So, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my Sunday morning and yours. Let's see. I operate, excuse me, I operate my live stream via a different program than I do the weekly show. So, sometimes I forget where all the buttons are and I have to use a couple of different settings. So, welcome this morning and pardon my slight lateness in getting in here. So you can get that mic in the right spot. All right. So, first off, let me say good morning to everybody. Susie Q, good to see you here. Neil, brother Neil, good to see you. I see you've got a starter conversation. We'll get back to that in a minute. And who else we got in here? Leslie and Jimmy Collins, good to see you. And Steph Hedrick, good to see you here. And Teresa, good to see you as well. And I just want to say good morning to everybody. Hope you're having a good Sunday morning. Over here, we're having, we were lulled into a bit of spring complacency with the warm weather that hit us. It was up into the 40s and almost the 50s a couple of days, which is very odd temperatures for this time of year up in this part of the country. As those of you who are out of the country listening from Australia and Ireland and England and other places around where I'm located in western Wisconsin, which is right across the river from Minnesota. We're in the north central United States. Canadian border is the only thing above us. And so it gets a little cold up here in the winter times. It's not ungodly, but it's colder than the southern half of the country. And usually February is pretty cold and snowy, and it can get into March a little bit. Every time around basketball, March Madness, those of you in the United States, we have usually our March Madness blizzard, and which only lasts a couple of days on the ground. It melts off. But we were lulled because we got into some very warm temperatures over the last couple of weeks. And today, it's not so bad temperature-wise, but we're getting more snow. Everything had melted off other than the grass in the yards. You know, all the streets were clean, and our patio was totally clear, and our sidewalks, and it was just nice being outside. Now it's all full of snow again, and we're just getting a few inches, but we'll see how the day progresses. It's still snowing out there. So Susie says she's cold in the morning too. So I don't mind the winter for a couple of days a year, and then it's kind of nice. Like right now, it's kind of pretty outside, but I don't like traversing in snow and ice. If I wanted to do that, I'd move up to the Yukon and I'd live up there. But I'm here, and I will probably be here the rest of my life the way it's looking, although I'd like to live other places. There are other places in the country. And now I know why older people move south for the winter. Sometimes it's not just because they're older. It's just they're old enough to have grown so tired of winter that they need to move someplace where it's not winter like that anymore. So I could handle with a little warmth. But let's see. I'm ready for spring. Yeah, Leslie, I was ready for spring in November. So now I'm not a big hot weather fan either. I don't like hot and humid, which is what it gets up here. And now I've said this before, but just to kind of abolish the misnomers about Minnesota and Wisconsin being a frozen tundra year round, in the summers, it flip-flops. It's almost damn near subtropical up here in the summer times. You can get into the low 100s, and the humidities and the dew points are way up in the 80s and the 90s. And you step outside, it's like being in an oppressive rainforest in South America somewhere. And you just stay inside in the air conditioning sometimes. Now, I don't like that kind of weather. I don't like weather that's so humid I can get dressed, walk outside, and immediately my clothes stick to my body because of the moisture in the air. So I'm not a big fan. I like a dry heat. If it's going to be 100 degrees or more, let it be dry. So there you go. But the nice thing about these extremes in Minnesota and Wisconsin, these polar extremes, almost literally, is the springs and the autumns are gorgeous up here. The transitional seasons are great. So there you go. There's my weather talk for the day. What did you all think about the State of the Union speech that was Tuesday night of this last week? I really liked it. And as expected, it's of course being criticized by the opposing political party. But I don't care. They can criticize it. We criticize theirs. So I have no big problem with the criticism. But something I have noticed since all of this, now on Tuesday night, I took a screenshot of two things that were taking place during the State of the Union. One was the award of the Medal of Freedom being presented to Rush Limbaugh by the First Lady up in the president's box. And the second was of course, what we've all heard about ad nauseum is Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, tearing her copy of the State of the Union address asunder, in twain, demonstrably for the cameras at the end of the speech. And she didn't just take the whole thing, but she did it page by page or a couple of pages at a time. So it took her a few minutes to do it, a few moments. And so those are the two big events that took place, despite there being other wonderful things that happened during the State of the Union, where the elderly, what is he, 100-year-old last surviving member of the Tuskegee Airmen that President Trump promoted to brigadier general. And now at 100 years old, there's probably not a lot that he's going to do functionally as a brigadier general, but it was a great gesture and one of honoring him. And of course, we know the other people that were included in the things that President Trump pointed out. And the criticisms come all across the board. And so I don't watch it. But something I have noticed since Tuesday, even though it was already at screeching levels already, is the amount of political posts that I find wearisome. Not worrisome, wearisome. Oh, and by the way, of course, the day after the State of the Union was when President Trump was acquitted from the Democrat impeachment in the House of Republicans. The Senate cleared him and acquitted him of that. Now, it's funny. I want to make one note on this politically. I see a lot of people who are Trump haters that, for the most part, that look at the acquittal and they talk about it being, well, it was in the Senate and we knew it was going to be acquitted because it was just the Republicans. It was just one party acquitting him that had the majority. But they say nothing about the fact, in comparison, the only reason there was an impeachment at all was because it was a one-sided, one party only voting for it in the House. So the House was all Democrats, Democrat only, very partisan, one-sided impeachment in the House. The only reason they could pull that off was they had the majority of seats in the House. And so the only bipartisan factor in the House impeachment was a couple of Democrats went over and voted with the Republicans against impeachment. Two of them, I think. And so it was a completely one-sided political partisan impeachment. That's what people fail to mention when they say, well, the Senate, it was only the Republicans that voted to acquit Donald Trump. Well, that's even not true because there were, what was it, 3 or 5, was it 3? Getting the numbers mixed up in my head, Democrats that voted with the Republicans to acquit Donald Trump. And there was only one Republican that voted to not acquit. And we all know who he is. And he's the hero of the left right now and the sweetheart now because of what he did. But I guarantee in about a week or two, he'll be forgotten by the left. So all of that to say, all these things that happened this week, and all I'm seeing post after post after post after post in social media, finding ways to denigrate, to demonize any and everything about President Trump. From the way he ties his tie to the dye he uses in his hair and his face and whatever. And to me, I don't care. So I look at all of that and it's become overwhelming because now, while the president was acquitted of charges that I believe were all spurious to begin with, remember, folks, keep this in mind, that the impeachment that took place, this impeachment, was the 9th time the Democrats tried to impeach Donald Trump since day 2 of his term. When he took office on January 20th of 2017, on the 22nd, it was the first impeachment proposal, I guess you could call it, that was offered up to the House. And they tried 8 times until they got this one, the 9th one, to actually work. And from what I hear and seen in reading, without being able to isolate them, there were actually a dozen times that they tried to impeach the president, starting from the second day he was in office. So if you can't look at that and say, this is partisan hijinks, it doesn't exist anywhere else either. So the 9th time, and they didn't even have charges together. They didn't have their act together. They didn't have their investigations done and all of this. And the process followed through as the process should. And all the talk about a trial, there was a trial. They just decided to not call witnesses. And I don't think for any other reason other than I believe that the case was made by the Democrats, and the case they made was an insufficient case for impeachment. So you're going to see this hit the fan again. No doubt you may. I'm not going to say no doubt. You probably are going to see the Democrats try to impeach him again with different charges. Only this time they've learned their lesson and they're going to go take a totally different route. And so all you're going to see now, between now and November, which is the national election for the president, you're going to see attempts to try to impeach him, to put this on his record. The only president who was ever impeached twice. And I love the way Nancy Pelosi says, he's impeached forever. Well, you know what, Nancy? He's acquitted forever. So, you can, when you have a partisan body that puts out a slanted vote only because they have the majority in the House, you're going to have an impeachment, all right, but it's not a valid impeachment. Valid impeachment was meant to be bipartisan, and that's not what took place here. And they didn't have any evidence to substantiate their claims. So, who is this Rocky Stucci media character? I just see Sterling asking, is he in the house? Is Rocky Stucci in the room? Good morning, if you are, brother. Audrey, good to see you. I've been doing so much talking, I didn't get a chance to say good morning. Karen, nice to see you as well. And Sweet Meat, why, thank you. Teresa, I think I saw you at the more toward the beginning. And Sterling, just saw you there. And let's see who else we got here I haven't said good morning to. Leslie, you're there. And so welcome to all of those of you who came in on my little foray into domestic politics. Now, I want to get back to way at the beginning. Neil had put way in before we started. He said, starter conversation. Now, I haven't read this yet. He said, I read that you had a full donor heart transplant. Spiritually, mentally, physically, has this had any change on you? Do you feel part of the donor is a part of you now? Actually, I didn't have a heart transplant. And I may have misworded that when I posted it. I said it was the anniversary of they transplanted an artery, not the heart itself. And so it was just what they call the widowmaker, and they had to cut that out, and they had to take another vein from somewhere else in my chest and put it up in place. So the only thing really technically transplanted was they replaced an artery, and that's all grafted in. The heart's still mine, and it's still there. It's the original, and I still have the scar. It's not as gnarly as in the picture. Matter of fact, let's see. You can see that scar is still there. Boom, a little discoloration, but it's still there. And frankly, they don't even seal the bone back up the sternum. They wire it together, so it's all. I think it's plastic, is some kind, medical plastic. But if I feel in there, I can feel where it's just bound together. They keep it that way just in case they got to crack you open again. So you ask how did that do with me mentally, physically, spiritually, things like that. Well, to me, and I've told this story before, it's kind of funny because you hear from all the doctors that said, if you had let this go a few more days, you might not have survived. And that hits you to a certain degree, but it hasn't really changed. It didn't change my emotional makeup. It didn't change me spiritually. You hear of a lot of people who get in these situations, and they have what we refer to as kind of the foxhole conversions. And I found myself not feeling that. Maybe there's a bit of naivety. Maybe there is a bit of I'm so detached from certain things, but I didn't feel that at all. I felt like I was going in for another procedure, and I didn't realize any of it. Frankly, there I was. They ran a stent up first, and then the next day said, "It looks like we have to go in and cut out that artery." And so I'm like, okay, well, what are the risks? And well, you could die, and so I'm like, okay. And he said, but of course the cardiologist said, but that's highly unlikely. I don't think you're going to die on the table. It's good that you're in here. We'll get you taken care of, and we'll be done. And then they put me to sleep, and I woke up, and it was all done. And my kids were here, and my daughters flew in from out of town, and they slept on the sofa in my hospital room for a week. Rainey would have done that herself, but we have 3 kids at home, and she had to go home and take care of kids, and then we couldn't have the whole family camping out at the hospital. And they took me to the hospital in the city, so it was roughly an hour drive. So that was just fine. Rainey was there at the beginning and through, and Grandma came and watched the kids, but then Rainey had to go home and take care of the family. And I was in for almost 10 days in the hospital, 7 to 8 days, something like that. So I didn't see a lot of spiritual and mental changes. I remember I got online and I talked for about 25 minutes in a video about a week or two after the surgery, after I was home, and talked about this. And is that a bad thing for me to not have been affected spiritually by it? I don't remember that I even prayed at the time. I may have said something, well, before the surgery, I might have said something like, "Well, God, if this is it, if I die, I guess I'll find out what this is all about now, because I have so many questions." And so other than that, I didn't see any change afterwards. Physically, yes. There was a lot of physical change. However, I got pretty cocky pretty early on. About a month after I was home, I went out in our woods. We had 4 acres of woods around the house with my young son and his Cub Scout hatchet. And I had an axe, and we went out and we chopped on trees a little bit and stuff like that. We're dragging trees around, and I didn't exhaust myself, but I felt like, yeah, I'm pretty good. I get through this pretty well. And then what hit me a couple of months later, while I'm healing from the heart, was the hip, and the both of my hips suddenly were in need of being changed. Uh, uh, Hip replacements I was diagnosed with, and so, as I had said, and you guys have all heard me say this before, at the time I told my doc, I said, a year ago I was climbing mountains in the Sinai, and today I can't climb the stairs to my bedroom. That's the kind of pain I was in. And so they replaced the right hip, but I had to wait for 8 months. I had to give it a year, 8.5 months from the time I was diagnosed. So 3.5 months after the heart surgery, I was diagnosed with needing hip replacement. And so but they wouldn't do it for a full calendar year after the heart. So I had to sit for, they wanted to make sure, of course, that I'm not going to actually die on the table by having a hip replaced by putting me under so soon after my heart. So it was a year later from the heart surgery. And that was slower healing, it seems, than my heart was. And I had some struggles with that. And that's where I ended up that first 8 months. And plus that, on top of that, 2 more years sitting on my butt getting fat and trying exercise. And almost, Neil, to answer that question, the mental thing about all of it, all put together, was thinking I'm supposed to be able to conquer this and get over this and heal from this, and I would start doing the things that were supposed to precipitate that, yet I ended up finding myself, I would just stand and I would stare at the ground and say, fearing to lift my right leg to take a step. And the mental, emotional fear of causing pain and discomfort is what prevented me from moving forward. And then I ended up putting on, 35, 40 pounds, which I'm just starting to see some of that come off. So that's, Neil, if that answers your question, that's kind of where I was. And Karen, I'm glad I'm here too. Thank you for saying that. Um, and Neil, also wanted to say, you asked about MS last week. As analogy, it's like an electrical wire that's been stripped off its coating, and it's short-circuiting. Signals get scrambled from the brain to the nerves. I had an art teacher in high school that had MS, and she had trouble walking, and she was in advanced stages, but I didn't know much about it. So anyway, there you go. There's my junk. I hope that answered your question, Neil. Uh, I don't want to have a rude awakening when I die and find out, that there are things I should have done or should have known or should have not left behind. But it's like Richard Feynman said, astrophysicist, contemporary of Oppenheimer and Einstein, and he said there's a lot of things that I could believe. And he says, and there's a lot of things I don't believe. He says, and I got to tell you, he says, I would hate to believe one thing my whole life only to find out I believed the wrong things. And so we don't have any proof of anything. We don't have any other than what's in your heart, maybe. And you accept by faith certain things. And that's the power of the mind that accepts those things. Even when there's no real evidence to accept them. And so I'm not at that place. I used to be in that place, as you all know, from all the series of shows we've been doing, where I am spiritually on those things. And so there you go. So I'd rather, I'm not afraid to not have all the answers. And, but I am intrigued by trying to find them. Okay. So there we go. We can kind of leave that all there. And so I see a lot of comments in here. Let me move back a little bit. Matt, thank you. Somebody said something to you, Matt. I was just looking to see if there was something I missed in here. Let's see. We love you, Rocky. Glad you're here, brother, says Teresa. I don't even see Rocky. Oh, there he is. Scotty, trigger someone and talk about boobs. Folks, I will tell you this. I don't care. If you've got young people present, if you want to send them out of the room for a moment, you can do that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with saying aloud, I absolutely love boobs. Female boobs, not man boobs. Man boobs, totally different category. And so I love my wife's boobs. I love boobs. And it's okay. I love legs. I love butts. All of those things. I'm a guy. I was made to be a guy. I'm a guy. Mentally, I'm a guy. Emotionally, I'm a guy. And I appreciate those things. I appreciate the form of a woman. If I were to be nice about it, if I was to be crass about it, I like boobs in my face. Yeah. What guy doesn't? Well, there are guys that don't. There are some gay guys who go, ooh, icky boobs, or maybe they appreciate them for the art form that they are. So there you go, Rocky. There's my response to your request. Yes. Yeah, you're not trying to encourage him, Susie. I get that. They're not natural play toys when they belong to grandma. Ain't that the truth? It's like I said, once Rainey and I started having kids, and Rainey breastfed Flynn was born 10 years ago. And so 10 years ago, she started breastfeeding, and she breastfed all three of them. And the last one, the now 5-year-old, she was like almost 4 before Rainey really backed her off and tried to keep her off the boob. But I will tell you this, is that breastfeeding 3 kids for over 9 years did not ruin my wife's figure or her boobs. They're as glorious, if not more so today than they were the day I met her. So I enjoy boobs, and I don't think I could speak highly enough about boobs. And perhaps Rocky wants me to be a little more tomfoolery-ishness. That's not even a word. That's not even what I'm looking for. Would like to have heard me phrase that a little differently, but I'm up with boobs. They work for me. And so they are not moobs, says Neil. Men have rests. There you go. WREASTS. Yes. And so yeah, I don't have the pecs I used to have when I used to lift weights way back. Now we're talking way back. I'm not claiming any bragging rights, but I used to in my 20s, we're talking 30, 35 years ago. I used to pump iron, and I was in fairly decent shape, and I wasn't, like I wasn't competing or anything like that. I never had the veins popping out of all my muscles, but I was in good shape and I lifted. And so yeah, now I'm a shade of my former self, or I have more than my former self used to have. And man, wouldn't that be cool if I could, at pushing 60, get myself down to a little more lean body weight and put on a little bit of toned muscle? I'd be really happy with that. So we'll see how the next year plays. As mark the date, February 9th of 2021. We'll compare and see where I'm at. So let's see. And my doc has put me back into medical PT, physical therapy, for overall. He says, you've gotten to the place where, and I actually do, folks, in the last couple of months, I have felt like the healing process has reached a good point. I'm not out of the woods yet, but I'm 3 years out from the heart surgery, 2 years out from the hip, and I'm starting to overall feel a little better. I'm not working as slowly as I used to work operate, I should say, over the last couple of years. And so things are getting a little better. I'll leave it at that. So, Matt, breastfeeding actually tucks in your uterus and helps your belly go small again. It's great to breastfeed. There you go. Breastfeeding's good. So, my wife wouldn't have had it any other way. So, you know what it did for her? She was a big advocate for breastfeeding. Is that it got her close to the kids. It shared her nutrients, her what's the word I'm looking for? Her immunities and things with the children, and it allowed me to see her breasts almost all the time. So, yeah, there were times my wife would just walk around the house with her shirt up around her neck, and just walking around, just washing dishes or doing things, and her shirt's up because it's always up because of the little ones. And so I enjoyed that part of breastfeeding. But I'm a guy, so what's not to like? So, boy, that it took an unexpected course this morning with that. And so I hope you're all enjoying the radio shows that we do Monday through Friday. I'm trying to find content that will make us all think and think on levels that, I want to do some more scientific shows and things like that. I'd like to get into more paranormal stuff as well, because I talk about that stuff all the time. But I really like focusing on the things we've been talking about. Why do you believe what you believe? Who was Jesus? Who is the historical Jesus? Who are the Gnostics? Who are the Cathars? And there's so many groups out there, and about early Christianity and all of that. So I hope that you're getting a chance to tune in, and if not tune in, at least come in here when it's archived after the show is live. And that is Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. Central. It's a 1-hour show, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. West Coast. So if you are wanting to hear it while it's being broadcast, come on over to this YouTube channel, or you can go over to Odyssey Radio and hear it. This particular show I'm doing on Sunday mornings has nothing to do with Odyssey Radio, other than I promote Odyssey here and promote my show here Monday through Friday. So come on over to this channel if you haven't already. Join. There's the live chat. Most of the people you see here in the chat room are people that will, I don't know if it's here or here as you're looking at the video. Let's see. If I look here, yeah, We the People is backwards as I'm looking at my own video here. So it's going to be the other way around. So wherever. So most of the people here in the chat are here for the chats during the shows on Monday through Friday. So come on over and join us. And also, I want to make an announcement that some of you already know this, and I can't put up graphics in this program. It's the other program where I do my radio show where I can pull in graphics, because I'm just doing this live through YouTube. And if there's a way to throw in graphics, I haven't figured it out yet while we're going live. But tonight, if you remember, I took a little trip down to Key West, down in the Caribbean, several weeks ago. And I couldn't talk about it. I had to sign not disclaimers, what do they call it? Non-disclosures, NDA. And it was to film on a little television show that is launching now tonight. And the show is about the Bermuda Triangle. It's called The Curse of the Bermuda Triangle. And this show, while that's a sensational title, glossy, it's meant for TV to attract viewers in. Um, what they're doing in the show is actually examining the curse of the Bermuda Triangle. They're going through all the cases, and these guys are actually genuinely huge on trying to look into the enigma that is that's become the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. And so it's good stuff. I was brought on. They flew me down there. I was brought on as an expert. And I said, well, I'm not really a Bermuda Triangle expert. I said, but, my expertise lies in different areas. And as most of you know, I've written books on the Nephilim, on the reptilians that deal with the spirituality, the ufological, the weird, the paranormal, all of these things. Wrote a book on the Exodus, as you all know. And so they took that stuff to say, that's okay. You're an expert at this kind of thing, and we'd like to have you come down. And they have other experts on the show, too. So I play a small part in the show. I spent a whole day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but a whole day filming with the two leads of the show. And all of these little segments we filmed are showing up in 3 different episodes. So who knows? I may appear on screen for a whole minute. I haven't seen any of the episodes. For a whole minute of the episode, a 44-minute episode. And so we'll see tonight. But the producers wrote me and said, thank you. We hope to have you down again to do some stuff with us. And they said they loved having me. And I just brought to the table exactly what you see on my shows, the way I talk here. And I joked around with these guys. I try to present good information. And so I think it's going to be fun. And it's at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. I think it'll probably be 7 p.m. on the West Coast. But it's on the Science Channel tonight. And so if you want to view it, you're going to have to find out the best way to view it. I thought I heard it's going to be on Amazon Prime, but you might have to do one of those things where you got to pay another extra few bucks to get some certain channel to be able to view it. I don't know for sure. I haven't even looked into how I'm going to view it myself yet. So that's it. It's called The Curse of the Bermuda Triangle. And I had a small part to play in that, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. And the guys I got to hang with, the one guy who you'll see, I've got him tagged in my posts on Facebook. David Cizik, I think. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Czeik, I think it is. He's a big guy. Huge man. He's got a big long beard and long hair. And it's that scraggly long hair. Very Grizzly Adams looking type of guy. But when I say he's big, I'm 6 foot, and he towered over me. And huge frame, huge personality. And he's a guy, when you look at him, you say, this guy was a Navy SEAL or something. And I guess more than that, I don't know what he was in the military, but he worked for Blackwater, is what he told me. So he had this, if you remember Blackwater, he was like private Navy SEALs. And these guys are tough sons of bitches. But he's got a gregarious sense of humor. And he's missing a leg, too. I didn't even realize it at first. When I first met him, we're standing in the hallway. He's in shorts. And I'm in jeans and stuff. We're talking in the hallway. We're about a foot away from each other. And I didn't look down at his feet. I just noticed peripheral vision. He's got 2 legs. And so we're sitting at the table. And it's so funny that I didn't notice it until this point. An hour or so into, and we're joking around about something about, I don't know. I don't think it was about loss of limbs or anything like that, but we're joking around about something, and all of a sudden he goes, slam, and he slams his artificial leg on the table. He goes, you mean like that? And he starts laughing. And I looked at it, and he goes, the look on your face, Scotty, is priceless. Because I didn't realize he had an artificial leg. I wasn't looking at him. And so and it's an artificial leg that looks like it's all tattooed. Maybe that's why I didn't notice it. It's got tattoos all over it. And so he got a great kick out of surprising me with his artificial leg. So good people on the show, and there's going to be some good stories covered. I don't know what the topic is tonight, but I talked about several, and we'll be in 3 of the shows. And it was approved for 8 episodes for its first season, and that's what they do. They give them test runs to see if they're going to do well. And I think the production quality on this is very high, and the expectations should be pretty good about it. So it's not too woo-filled, although we touch on some of that. Even when we were talking for filming my parts, they asked me about the paranormal side and things like that, and I think it was David that said to me, and the producer that said, we're not going to capitalize on the paranormal or the woo side of this. We're looking into explanations for things. And so I think it'll be worth watching. So there it is. There's the big long advertisement for tonight. Hulu might have it, Teresa. Hulu tends to not broadcast shows the night they come out. They're usually a week offset. So you might not see it for a few days or a week if it's going to air on Hulu. So, but not tonight. So who started early, Barry? I started at 9 a.m. 45 minutes ago. So after all the chatter and talking, I do want to do a few tarot readings. But before I start taking names, I want you to know that I do these readings for no charge online to give you a taste. It's not only just to offer you, if you need a reading, some information, but it's to give you a taste of what I can do. Part of what I do to make a living is tarot readings. So if you'd like to get a reading, a full reading, I'm showing you what these mini readings are like to hopefully draw a little bit of the business side of it in, and it helps pay my bills a little bit. And so you come on over to either my website, scottallenroberts.com, click on the tarot link at the top, and there's 2 that I have up there, a 5-card reading and a 10-card reading for respectively $45 and $85. And they last, the 5-card can be a half an hour to 40 minutes. The 10-card can be an hour to an hour and a half, depending on what we get into. And so I'm going to do a few 3-card readings this morning to hopefully whet your appetites a bit. And those of you who I will read this morning will be people, the reason you'll get in is because that's the way Source, the universe, Spirit wanted it, that you need something this morning. And you can also, by the way, you can go over here on my YouTube channel, just go out to my main channel where it shows all my videos and stuff. And up in the header where it says Adventure Town Communique, and I'm standing there with my big mustache and my hat, that hat over there. There's a little down in the right-hand corner of the header, a donate button. You can also go there if that's easier for you. Donate 45 or 85, and it'll ask for your name and your contact information, all that. And I'll know what it's for if it's one of those 2 denominations of numbers. So if you'd like to get a full reading, that's what I do. So go ahead and get your reading. We'll get it on the schedule, on the books, and we'll do it. And there's a few people in here that have had the full readings. You can just ask them what they think. So here we go. Let's see. Let's get a couple of people up for a reading this morning. I don't have super amounts of time today. So if you'd like a reading, go ahead and tell me. We're going to do 3 for right now, unless I have more time and we can get into some more. But let's see. So who have we got? Sorry, it's me, Yeoman. I forgot to switch accounts. Oh, hey, Jennifer, Yeoman Jennifer. Good to see you. And let's see. Who have we got that would like a reading this morning? Boom, 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 boom. Lily, thank you very much. Good to see you here, Lily. And who said, good morning, a reading for me, please? Sally. So, Sally, you're number 1. Sallie. Number 1's easy to remember. It's 2 and 3. So, who else we got? Let's see. So, I'll start by reading Sally. And since I don't see other ones on there right away, I always ask, don't bum rush me at the beginning because I'll never remember them all. So we got Sally, and if you're on there, I'll take a look. Me, please, Morgan Snow. How you doing, Morgan? Welcome. So we got Morgan, and let's see, and Kay. There we go. There's our first 3, and it may be the only 3 this morning. So good morning. Hey, Rainey.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I come and say good morning to everybody.
No, because I don't have my face fixed.
That's okay. You still have faded makeup from last night.
Eyeliner all over my
Come on over and say hi. Here's Rainey this morning. Make her feel good.
Let me see if I can fix myself without seeing me.
She just got up, so she says her makeup is not what it ought to be, but she looks fantastic. So she's coming.
That and I didn't sleep well listening for Rowan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rowan did all right. There she is. There's my beautiful wife. Say good morning to Rainey.
Good morning, everybody.
She just got up.
Yeah.
And and there's the little one just got up with her.
Yeah.
So
my snuggle bug.
There's here. There you go. There's Ellery.
Say
good morning.
Everybody.
Good morning, Peanut.
Okay, if you're gonna say you can go away.
All right.
Take a bath, Stinky.
So I'm gonna do a few readings here.
All right.
And take it from there. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your hair is lovely.
I'm kissing you because I don't even want to spread the germs.
You look great.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Bye, guys.
I'm touching her butt. That was for Rocky. All right. Here we go. Let me get this mic back up into place. If I can. There you go. All right. And Ellery, of course, yes. We had sickness in the house this week. Ellery got the 24-hour bug, the kids always get 24 hours, and it always starts, in the evening. And it's, throwing up every 30 minutes, throwing up all through the night. And then it was done. And then a couple of days passed now, 3 days, and then Rowan Claire had it last night. So she slept down on the sofa, and I slept on the other sofa next to her, and monitored her. And so, it got to the point where Rainey ordered from Amazon the little best thing. When you have a bunch of kids and they all get sick and you use buckets and big bowls for them to puke in, if they don't make it to the toilet. Rainey got these things from the hospital, and then she bought some on Amazon. They're these little plastic rings that have the plastic bags that come out. They're vomit bags. And, vomit, such a vile word. I like the word puke instead, or throw up, or blowing chunks, or, technicolor yawn, whatever you want to call it. But so we had a bunch of those stacked. And they only cost maybe 50 cents a piece. But, they could hold a big thing like that of vomit if you're going to do it. But the kids would throw up in those. So we put those all by the nightstand, and they can grab those. And we do one, we pull the bottom out and leave it laying there, and then the others are stacked. But last night, Rowan, for about the first 4 hours last night, was every 20 to 30 minutes. It got to a place where there's nothing to throw up. Then she'd say, I'm thirsty. And I'd say, just take a sip. You want to sip, get your mouth wet, your throat wet. Don't gulp it down. And I got her a little glass of water. And what did she do? Look. And I go, whoa. And of course, in 20 minutes, she threw up all of that. So now she seems to be back to normal, almost back to normal this morning. So she had a night of it. That was about it. So Barry says, not fair for those of us who do not have a butt to grab. Grabbing my own just is it's not the same, Barry, is it? It's like, ooh, daddy loves your butt. Oh, wait, that's my butt. So yeah, there you go. Yeah. I don't objectify my wife. I don't believe I do. But I certainly like to praise what she has. She has assets, and she's beautiful on top of all the other things. She's a pain in the ass sometimes, but then again, so am I. So there you go. All right, let's get into some of this. Get some elderberry juice. Hope all feels better. Thank you, Kay. And yeah, the babies. Now Flynn has not gotten sick, and hopefully he won't. He's 10 years old. He's the boy. He doesn't, he likes to stay away from his sisters. He's at that stage. So hopefully he's not too breathed on or, too infected. So I even had a little bit of it this week, but adults, we react differently to those bugs. Never threw up, but I had the stomach stuff going on a little bit this week because of my little girl. So, it affects grown-ups a little differently. Where did I put my cards? Right here. Let's get into the card reading now. All right. Sally, you are on deck, and I'm going to shuffle up for you. And like I've always said, I believe the magic in the tarot is from the universe, from source, from God, from your angels, from your spirit guides, however you want to view that and look at that. And so I'm not the one that has any power at all in this. I'm the one who reads what's delivered. I read the message, and that's it. Perhaps if there's any ability on my part, it's not the biggest part of it. It's more in, people have said, well, maybe you're empathetic, you're empathic, or you're intuitive. And I like to look at it this way and say, there's also the factor that I know people. And I have known people for a long time. I have dealt with a lot of people. I have my own emotions and my own things I've dealt with. And so a lot of that, you put that all into one big stew. And what I do is interpret what I see. The message delivered. So I've always said, I am a facilitator of a message delivered. And I've had people say to me, you should go out and just do the straight psychic thing. And I say, I'm not comfortable with that. I like the cards because to me, they're like a positive, intuitive crutch. I'm not relying what's just going on in my head. I'm relying on a message delivered from somewhere else. So that's the way I look at it. And I shuffle the deck because I believe source, creator, has the ability to manipulate things to work. Shuffles the deck as I'm shuffling it. Everything works together when you look at the intricacies of the universe, down to the atomic and subatomic levels and how everything works and consists. And you think God or the universe, whoever, can't shuffle a deck of cards to deliver a message, you'd be wrong. That's the way I view these things. I'm just a guy. All right, here we go. Now, Sally, I've shuffled for you. If you were here, I'd have you put your hand to the deck and cut it. So I'm doing this on your behalf right now. And here we go. All right. I'm going to lay down 3 cards, past, present, and future. And we'll take it from there. All right. Your present. This is your current situation. I got this mic has to be here, but it's in the way too. You got the Wheel of Fortune. That's your current situation, your present. Your recent past is the 10 of Swords. Get a good look at that card. Tell me that's not a bleak card, but that's your past. Your near future is the 5 of Coins, which is by itself one of the bleaker cards in the deck, but when you see it in a reading, it means you're already seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of what this card means. Now, let's get to the meanings of these cards. And I want you to look at this and see how this fits for yourself. where you're at. Now, sometimes I've had people say, oh, I didn't quite get it. Just look at your life, look at your situation. This little reading right here could represent your whole life. Everything in your life is encapsulated in this right now, or it could be a thing that's going on in your life. So it's either really big or it's a little smaller. But whatever it is, this is your first card. It's the Wheel of Fortune. This is a card. There's a phrase that I learned with this card very early on. It's got this wheel and all these different things, and it's got an angel that's like spinning the wheel. It's a card that says what you lose on the downturn, you gain on the upswing of the wheel. And so the actions of your past are the seeds of your future and what's going to happen in your future, successes or even failures. If you've had a period of failure and things, it says the wheel keeps turning and it's going to come around again. And to make progress, you have to accept the changes, not only that have happened in the past, but that are coming in your near future. There's a beneficial change approaching, but you have to keep in mind that luck or fortune, if you will, something completely out of your control in this situation. You have to ride the wave of it. You can add your intent. You can visualize your intent. But sometimes things just are what they are and you ride with them, and what you have to work on is the way you live in the now. In other words, like the things we've been talking about on the radio show, be awake. Be aware of where you are in this situation and either do what you can to facilitate the changes you want or ride with the wheel, because we all have the wheel that keeps turning. And the future is going to yield an opportunity for you to change your path towards your personal growth, towards your happiness. You have to be ready to change certain ways of thinking, Sally. This is saying that take a deep look at the way you perceive things, your attitude about things, the way you live in the now, the way you're aware of things. You have to be ready to change some things, because whether or not your actions are bringing the success you want, they represent a beneficial change for you. The wheel's turning. And the wheel stands for luck, for changes, for new direction in your life. And it shows the ups and the downs, because when things are going down, the other things are coming up, is the idea. The overall feel of the card is a really positive one. It's indicating that there are changes being initiated for the better, for good things to happen for you. So right now, in your current, this card is telling me you're in the process, in the midst of experiencing change. And you have to ride with that change. And that change could be, if you had really good things going on in your past, it's like prepare yourself because bad times come. That could be the turn of the wheel. The opposite of that is you may have gone through some things that are stinging, things that don't work for you, but now the wheel's turning. What you lose on the downswing, you gain on the upturn, is the idea. And it's interesting because the card of your recent past, this is the stuff you're coming out of right now. It's the Ten of Swords. And if you look at this card, it's got a guy laying on the side of the road. The dog is there ready to lap up his blood. He's got 10 swords sticking out of him. And the idea with this is that I used this illustration for this card one time, and it's stuck in my head ever since. If you ever saw The Princess Bride, you remember Billy Crystal's character, Miracle Max. He's looking at him and he says, he's not dead, but he's almost dead. And that's what this guy is. This is where you have been. Metaphor, it may have been physically. Maybe there was something that happened that brought you close to death. But this idea with this card is metaphorically, physically, not physically necessarily, but emotionally, spiritually, laying on the side of the road with 10 swords sticking out of your back. This is the coming to terms with sometimes bitter reality in your life. You're learning that moving forward is the most important aspect of healing, because the end of something important is represented in this card. It's if it was in your current situation, I say it's about to happen, but it's in your past. So it's something that has happened. It's probably still on you. Be prepared to deal with the consequences of what this is. Doesn't tell me what it is, but swords that's the suit of conflict. Conflict you give, conflict you get. It's the suit of power and authority, but this particular card isn't about having power. This is about having been brought under the power of something, because the swords are in your back. Now, nothing in life is permanent, and so you have to assess the direction that you're heading. This is where you've been, and that's why I think you have the Wheel of Fortune in your current, because you have to assess where you've been. You have to beware following the options of others and the opinions of others. In other words, this is where your personal power comes in. You notice whenever anything is down, everybody's got an opinion. You might just post on Facebook, I got this thing, and I wish you'd all think of me and pray for me or whatever. And everybody's got their advice on how you're supposed to change your life, or your diet, or your medicine, or your this, or your that. Nobody just goes, hey, I'm there for you. Most everybody is like, what you really need to do is this, and they go off on their things. This is a card that says you don't have to listen to everybody's opinions. Matter of fact, you can cancel them out. This might lead you away from being aware of what you really need to be doing. Truth as you're going to experience it in this. So seeing the world through pragmatic eyes is going to balance your optimism. Now, this is in the past. This is where you've been. This is what's brought you into the current. So you've got the 10 of Swords, almost dead. You drag yourself off the road. You pull the swords out. You become pragmatic about these things. And while you'll always be able to pull the swords out here, it says you'll also always have the scars. Now, you get 10 swords stuck in your back, you're going to have scars the rest of your life. But what you do with that is what's important. And so the 10 of Swords shows this sudden ending. It's a negative outcome. In some endeavor in your life, it could mean failure, utter failure, falling on your face, mortality accompanied by depression, feelings of being broken, of being crushed, and the weight of the world, and whatever your situation is here, which it doesn't tell me what it is. It's a harsh negative, this card, but it's led you to the Wheel of Fortune in your current. What you lose on that downswing, the 10 swords, you'll gain on the upturn. But it's leading you into this energy, which is already on top of you, because the near future card are things that are already happening. It's already coming to pass. This isn't a prediction of the future. This is just saying this is what you're now entering into in this moment. Now that you're passing the current, you're entering into this. And it's the suit of coins, which represents your financial well-being, your material well-being. And this card in your near future, it's the 5 of coins, and it's got the couple standing in rags and barefoot in the snow outside the warmth of the church window is what it's showing here in the older decks. And the idea with this is that you've had a recent emotional or financial loss that's absolutely weighing heavily on you. This is the stuff of your past that has already happened to you. But don't let your pride lead you away from the assistance of others. Other people might be able to help you, where the card of your past said you can ignore the opinions of others because you have to rely on your own power, your own strength, your own awareness, your own awakeness, your own pragmatism to pull yourself up off the road and pull the swords out of your back. It's now saying that the Wheel of Fortune is turning, and now it's okay to rely on the assistance of others if you need it. There's going to be hardships. This is a card of hardship that you're entering into, but it's a card of temporary hardship. Once you see this card in a reading, it indicates that the light's already at the end of the tunnel. You're seeing it, you're experiencing it. I dare say this is because of the stuff that happened with the Ten of Swords, and now the cycle is turning with that Wheel of Fortune. And you're entering a time where you're going to feel some of the pain of the past, some of the stuff that's put you here. There's going to be hardships. You got to overcome them. Overcome those hardships. Don't give in to the feelings of inadequacy or insecurity that this can bring to you. But your future holds a necessary change for you to incorporate in order to find happiness and security. But nobody's going to do this for you. You can get help along the way, but it's you who makes the changes. So this might be a change in direction or your motivation about something, but it's going to show you that all your struggles can be overcome. And this is where, if I tie this into things we've been talking about on the radio show, you need to live in the now. Be aware. Be awake in the now. And lift yourself above the dream of life and get into the reality of life. And this is one that's saying you can accomplish this. This is indicating financial loss or emotional troubles or a period of bad luck. It's worry, it's poverty, it's setbacks that are all associated with this card. And these things could be due to a lack of belief or possibly losing your faith. The overall tone is a negative tone to this card, but it's also short-lived, meaning if you do the right things, if you look at where you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to react to these things, you're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel of this pretty quickly. So, not a beautiful fortunes, you have gold coins being dropped in your lap type of reading, but I think it's a realistic one. It's saying you've experienced some bad stuff in the recent past, and it's life-changing, at least on an emotional or mental level. It could have to do with physical things, but because of the presence of the swords, it's telling me it's conflict. It could be things like loss of job, loss of relationship, and it puts you in that financial or that material well-being space in the future of not feeling like things are going your way. But this is stuff that's all going to fix itself as you accept the Wheel of Fortune. Things turn. And if you are aware of that, you can be pragmatic and you can be the one who becomes more aware of how to fix your situation. So, there you go. Sally, you just said, I love the word seed. My new grandbaby on the way in July. Would love a homestead. I love to garden. My job and health was not great. Blood clot, 2006. I'm sorry to hear that. So I don't know what your situation is. Like I said, it could be a big thing. It could be a little thing in your life. And it needs to be looked at. And it's more about you raising your own awareness and being awake to the things going on. All right. I hope that was helpful. Let's move on. Morgan, you're up. You are on deck. And let's shuffle up for you. And we'll read your cards. All right. Doing super, very positive. Good to hear, Sally. Good to hear. All right. This is for you, Morgan. Morgan Snow. All right. Morgan, if you were here, I would have you extend your hand to the deck and cut it. So I'm going to cut this on your behalf. Here we go. All right. Let's see what we got for you, Morgan. All set out there? All right. Let's go with this, Morgan. Your first card is the Eight of Wands. Right here. No, I'm wrong. Your first card was the card we just had, the Ten of Swords. This is your current situation. Your recent past was the Eight of Wands. Your near future is the Knight of Cups. All right. Now, Ten of Swords. We just covered this card in a lot of detail. And so let me just recap it for you and see if this makes any different bit of sense to you than the reading we just did. This Ten of Swords card is a card that is coming to terms with bitter realities. Moving forward in something is the best act of healing something. And where I said this was the almost dead card, this is something that says you've been wounded. And there are wounds that you need to fix. There's wounds that you need to reassess the direction you're heading in something. And you need to be the one who is not necessarily ignoring the opinions of other people, but you are the one that has to be the one that makes the decisions in this. You're the one who has to let your awareness lead you. And this is a sudden ending of some kind of negative outcome. And so this is in your current. And it's interesting because the other two cards don't really read anything about this. And I drew it, first of all, and I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be your current card. So I went to the next card, which was the Eight of Wands, which is your recent past now. And I said, no, I need to read this the way it's coming off the deck. And so your current situation, despite having some good things going on around you, is bumping headlong into this negative outcome of some endeavor that you're part of. All right. Now, the interesting thing is that your recent past, the energy that's leading you up to this Ten of Swords card, is the Eight of Wands. And the Eight of Wands is a totally different message than that card. Now, remember, this is your recent past. This is where you've been. This is all the energy that's brought you and plopped you off into your current, which is the Ten of Swords. And the Eight of Wands is this upwardly mobile card. It's talking about past goals that might not be able to move you forward. It's a change that's bringing you the most happiness in life, that's going to lead in that direction. The struggle that's been occupying you is going to pass, and a brief peace is going to follow. This is your recent past. This is what you've been experiencing. This is all about exciting news arriving that breaks the calmness of your present. The discomfort is necessary to remove you from your motionless present. So this is indicating to me that in your recent past, you might have needed a little kick in the butt, a little move forward to go upwardly mobile. That's all these staves or wands are moving upwardly. And the wands, it's all about creativity, new ideas, new thinking, energy, exuberance. And it's all about having possibly a new venture that's going to bring you some success, but you have to be ready to make the exuberance. And it's all about having possibly a new venture that's going to bring you some success, but you have to be ready to make the events that are going to move quickly and opportunities that are going to be set in motion, but they're going to arrive unpredictably. While overcoming the obstacles, it shows an end to some or a short delay or some blockage in your life. It's a positive card. And again, it's upwardly moving. And this is in your recent past. Now, this energy still could be on top of you today, but now this is the energy that's dropped you off into the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords laying on the road with the 10 swords coming out of your back, which indicates a change, a new chapter. Life almost over, but starting again, metaphorically speaking. And so perhaps this could be the changes that you have to look at with this upwardly mobile card. It's bringing you face to face with the things that have to die, or it's killing off something that shouldn't have been. So you need to look at your life and say, what are the things that shouldn't be there that are being killed off by the new ideas, the new energy, the new things coming, the moving upwardly mobile. And that leads you into the Knight of Cups. And the Knight of Cups, the knights were all these messengers for the king, is what they represented. And the knights were always in motion. Many times they're shown on horseback. And this is the card of your near future now. This is the direction you're heading because of these first two bits of energy. And your strengths have been your intellectual capacity, is what this is talking about. Your self-determined willpower. So being caught slightly off guard by new directions and ideas of others is natural to your unique perspective. And this is talking about an important offer. An invitation will be arriving suddenly, unexpectedly. Sometimes the Knight of Cups can stand for fertility, new birth. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean physical. It might be metaphoric, the birth of a new idea, the birth of a new thing. And you have to stay focused. You have to follow your passionate beliefs in this. It's going to lead to progress you toward your goal. And you're going to find peace in deep, meaningful connections. And the Knight of Cups is a romantic. Hence the presence of the cups, the passions. He's romantic. He's compassionate. He's a dreamer. He brings along new opportunities or some sort of a positional invitation of some kind. And he represents self-acceptance and arrival to finding the proper path for your life. And it's a very positive kind of a yes card. So, in recapping what I see here, your recent past has been coming to terms with things, new changes, new ideas, upwardly mobile, but having to face the things that you need to face. Changes in your approach to things. That led you to your current, which is the Ten of Swords, the veritable death to something, and the creating of a new chapter. Things that are painful to go through, no doubt. A negative card, but leading into the Knight of Cups, which says there is this romantic dreamer in you that represents acceptance of what's going on, moves you into new ideas, follows your most passionate beliefs, brings you success in your goals. So as this progression, as I see it, it's the awareness of something coming, something new. It's moving you upward. It's killing off other things in you. And it's going to leave you feeling like you're laying on the side of the road with 10 swords in your back. But it's an opportunity to open and start a whole new chapter. And then it leads to the Knight of Cups, which says it's bringing opportunity for you now. So that's what I see in that. Even though I started this reading not thinking the Ten of Cups was vital here, I believe it is. And I believe that's a big part of your process in getting rid of the old and accepting the new, looking at the new ideas, being upwardly mobile. You got to kill something else off, or that process is killing something else off. All right. So I hope that is meaningful for you, that it means something. And we'll leave it at that. All right, Morgan? Okay, guys. Let's move on to K. KT Emma. I'm going to assume you're still around. Let me take a swig of coffee. A little mental joy juice there. All right. Here we go, Kay. I'm going to shuffle up for you. If you're here, just let me know you're still here. You're number 3 on the list today. So here we go. Oh, good, Morgan. I'm glad. I'm glad that helped. I hope it's pertinent and it means something. All right. And Kay, this reading's for you. I'm going to shuffle up for you. Kay and I have had a few conversations offline by phone, and so I do know some of the things going on in Kay's life. Kay, I don't know if these are going to pertain to those. I generally, folks, do not like to know what questions you have in your mind, because I don't like to be led down a path with my own mind trying to find an answer to that. I like the cards to speak for themselves. So, Kay, one more shuffle for you, and then we'll go into drawing your cards. Hey, there you are. All right. All right. Here we go, Kay. If you were here, I'd have you extend your hand, cut the deck for me. So we'll go this way, here, and here. Boom. Boom. And this one. All right, Kay. Here's what I've got. Your current situation is the 10 of Cups. Your recent past is the Page of Cups. And your near future, boy, this card's coming up today a lot. You got the 10 of Swords. Now, I'm not a bad shuffler. That card keeps coming up. We already know what that card means, and we'll recap it in context here as we go. But you got the 10 of Cups. Now, Cups, you got two cards out of the Cups. And Cups is the your passions. It's your relationships. It's the thing you put your heart's passion into. And many times it has to do with relationships like romances, things like that. And this is currently what's at the focal point of your current circumstances. It's your relationship. And this is the idea with this is that by taking confidence in your own direction, following your convictions about something, you've been propelled forward. No matter the state of your relationship, this is moving you forward. And this commitment and your comfort with authority, and by authority, I mean taking authority onto yourself, have allowed room for recognition and things to be successful, to manifest in your life. And it's a new undertaking is about to begin for you with this, in this context. The task, the event, the journey is going to bring about the beginning of a long-lasting relationship or friendship. And this is a card that says, don't miss the opportunities that are right under your nose. And the cups all lined up in that rainbow effect is like a perfection of fulfilling your passions, your desires, and we're not talking about offhanded ones or illicit ones. These are the things that you're pushing for. And so the idea is this potential for financial success is part of this. It might present itself through some aspect of ownership, personal passion invested. You're either going to find domestic happiness at home, in your relationship, or you're going to gain prestige in your projects and your work. Despite whatever the difficulties are that are wrapped around this, balancing both of those things at once is possible. Relationship at home, domestic affairs, and your public work, the things that you're doing to move yourself forward on a more tangible or material realm. And this is a card, it's kind of at the pinnacle of the cups and the passions, the relationships, before it hits the royal face cards. And it represents harmony, abundance, happiness. It suggests that maybe personal or family dreams might be coming true for you on either the personal front or the family front. And it's an overall sense of satisfaction, security in the decisions you're making and where you are leading your life. and it's positive achievements, it's emotional stability for you, and it's a very positive card. Now, this is in the position of your current state. This is where you are. All that energy is who you are epitomized as right now in your current. And so let's take a look at the card of your past. It's the Page of Cups. And the pages, again, these are messengers. They're the ones who deliver messages, like messages from the king. And this Page of Cups, again, cups, passions. This is in your past now, remember. This is the foundation to where you are with the Ten of Cups in your current. This is an idea that you've already had can be developed further for greater results for you, for better outcomes for you. There are things already inkling in your brain in the past. Your awareness of the obstacles is going to be something that propels you and leads you to an understanding of the best ways to get around the obstacles. And this is all about good news. It's good news from the king, from this page. Good news coming your way. It's reminding you of the importance of refreshing your outlook on life, seeing the humor in life, remembering the healing power of laughing, of having a great sense of humor. It sounds funny, but that's what the card means. And this is talking about being prepared for an opportunity that's coming down the road for you, which, now remember, this is your recent past. It's in the past. Opportunity's coming. You're now in your present. And it's going to pass you by too easily if you're not ready to seize it for yourself. And so the emotional struggles that you're going to pass through are going to teach you how to love more deeply, more intimately. And that's why it's leading to this 10. I'm sorry, it's the 9 of Cups. I kept saying the 10. It's the 9 of Cups. This is what you're getting to. This is the area where in your current, where you're just about at that perfection of things, at least temporarily. Now, the page is a gentle, artistic, dreaming type of a message in your recent past. It's announcements of good news, messages of new, serene beginnings. It's things of a positive nature, and it's changes that are happening to you in your recent past. Now, that energy, again, has brought you into the 9 of Cups. And it's true happiness. It's your soul attaining peaceful balance. It's, again, all the efforts that you've spent and the changes that are coming about with this message of new things coming from the page in your past is going to be kind of rewarding for you. And this is an idea of being strong and working. Your emotional and your material well-being are all in front of your face right now with this card. So look to your friends for advice and support. Recognize, though, that you're the one who has to find the fulfillment. And you might have set goals for yourself that are down the road a ways. Stay true to those goals. Stay true to your desires. You're going to reach the destination, but you got to find the balance between your heart and mind. There are things that you may have conflict over in these areas, things that compete with each other for your time and your energy and your effort. But this is a card of joy and satisfaction. It's pleasure. It's overall contentment. It's a bright future kind of stuff. Both of these cards are really aiming for that. The pinnacle, almost the pinnacle of being where you want your passions to be and your wishes coming true type of thing. Now, let's throw a little wet blanket on that, because the card you're passing into is a card we've had in the 2 other readings already this morning, and it's the 10 of Swords. And as we've already found out, the 10 of Swords is all this energy, this change, these things you have to do. It's the outcome of this in your near future. It's already on top of you. Could be Well, is this idea that you have to come to terms with something. It might be internal, it might be external to you. There are bitter realities you got to face up to. You have to move forward, and that's how you're going to heal from the things that are probably the things that are being changed, the new things coming, the message of new beginnings, the message of new things and happiness in the other two cards. And it leads you to this change. Sometimes we can have very positive things that are leading us in directions that end up with cataclysmic decisions needing to be made. This is the card of new chapters, remember. So it's the end of something important is about to occur on the heels of good things coming. The idea that there's good news coming and so on. Nothing in life is permanent is what this card talks about. So you have to assess the direction you're going now in your near future, which is already on top of you. You have to beware following, again, that whole idea of all the opinions of other people, because everybody's going to tell you how to live your life and what to do. You're the only one that has the ability to really do that for you. So this is leading you into an awareness of your own truth, the awareness of how you're going to write the new chapter. You have to become more pragmatic. I've always said of myself, I'm a pragmatist. I like to see things as they are. I don't believe something unless I can see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, handle it, converse with it in order for me to believe it. Be pragmatic. Assess your direction. This card can be a sudden ending, a negative outcome in something you've put your hand to, something you've been involved with, some endeavor. It could mean failure. It could mean ruin. I mentioned earlier mortality, realizing how mortal you really are. And it can be depressing. It can lead you into depression. Feelings of being broken and torn apart, crushed by the weight of the world around you. This is what you're entering into. But if you are the pragmatist and you grasp the things you know already with these other two cards, that there's happiness, there's new beginnings, there's new things happening. That's what this is about. But realizing those, see, we can get good news and people telling us there's good things happening, but in accepting the fact that there are those good things happening, sometimes we have to wrestle with our own devils in order to make those things happen. And so the near future is something where you might have to be dealing with those, and it's going to leave you almost dead, but not dead. It's going to leave wounds, but things that you have to work yourself through, and it leaves you being able, open, and free to write a new chapter. So I don't know what this is dealing with. I do know the presence of cups has to do with relationships, with your passions, things you put in. This could all have to do with relationship. It could be a romantic relationship. It could be a relationship with friends or family, things that are going on. Rarely a business relationship, but it can work for that. But all of this changes are very positive, all the way up to your current until you get into the near future, where that positive is going to lead you into having to deal with some things that are going to change everything and write the new chapter. So there you go, folks. There you go, Kay. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that means something. Folks, today we had a 10 of Swords kind of day. There's a lot of people out there, it looks like, at least in the three that we've read. Maybe this is an overall message for everybody out there, is that there's stuff coming that you got to deal with. There's new chapters to be written. There's wounds that are being inflicted that will be there forever. The scars are always going to be there, but you have the ability to write something new. You're welcome, Kay. So, Barry, good to see you. Say you're on your way out. Good to see you here, brother. We'll see you this week. Let's see. Neil says a lot of personal demons need to be fought from all three readings. The awareness of that is the key. Absolutely, Neil. This looks like facing, biblically speaking, there's a verse in the Bible that says, resist the devil or confront the devil and he will flee from you. And I think that's a message here. And that comes to my mind because it's the same message of face your demons head on, like Neil said. Face those devils, face those things. Don't hide from them. If you hide from them, they will take a foothold. You face them and oust them because they cannot resist your confrontation. So, Sally, you're welcome. Thank you. Later, Barry. Good to see you. Roger, good to see you. I didn't see you earlier. Definitely feels like a collective message today. It certainly does. Because that card kept coming up. There was one point where I resisted reading it, and I wanted to move on to the next card. That was in Morgan's reading, and I thought, no, I can't do that. I got to read this because it's there. And it's there for everybody. Hey, Jeannie, good to see you. Collective view. Yeah, maybe that was a collective view. Let me tell you one more time. If you'd like a reading, a personal reading, I can do those. You know how to get them. Go over to my website, click on the tarot link, choose a 5 or 10 card, take care of that business, and then we'll get you scheduled. And I want to thank you for being here today. I think I'm going to end on that note because I think there's not much more to be said other than perhaps that's the message for all of us. We all are at times laying on the side of the road with 10 swords protruding out of our back, with the dog sitting there ready to eat the flesh that's remaining or lap up the blood. Gross picture, but you get the idea. And we pull ourselves off the road. We're able to pull the swords out of our back and we heal ourselves. But whenever you have 10 swords put in your back, you're going to be guaranteed to have scars that remain. And so we've all got this stuff, these awarenesses we have to come to, and the awareness that we have to move on from that. We have to heal from that and move on. It's interesting that Neil asked me about my heart, and I got into talking about my heart and my hip a little bit earlier in this program, talking about how things affect us emotionally and spiritually. Use that as a word picture. The problem was fixed immediately with my heart in a matter of hours. The problem with my hip was fixed immediately in the matter of an hour. But those wounds that were created took a good 3 years to finally get me to the place where I could start functioning almost normally again. And because of the toll it took on my physical body. So we can enter into good new things, face those demons, eradicate them, drive them away, but still be bound a little bit by our own blindfolds we put on, our own the pains and the suffering that come from going through the experience of writing a new chapter. But once you sit down and write that new chapter, you start to eradicate yourself from it. Matt asks, what's your thoughts on celestial alignments in the universe causing physical phenomena here on Earth, like magnetic anomalies in the Bermuda Triangle? I think that those are all things that affect us. It's not my area of particular expertise. You talk to an astronomer, somebody that's good at what they do. The stars, the planetary bodies all affect us, just like the moon affects the tides. So yes, those things affect us. And I think in the Bermuda Triangle, you'll see tonight in that episode of that show tonight, you're going to see we talk about that. I believe this is the show where we talk about that. So Sally says, sending healing thoughts for you and the family. We use McBoo buckets from McDonald's Halloween years ago. There you go. McBoo, McVomit buckets. Let's see. Roger says, I really like the web of light approach that Robert Stanley talks about. I'm not sure what that is, Roger, who you're talking about. So, unless it's Robert Stanley. I know there was a Stanley was his last name in evangelical ministry. So, years ago that I used to listen to. If that's the guy you're talking about. So, thanks, Matt. And here's my little Ellery again. Go ahead and step up in here. She's going to say goodbye. She's clothed and in her right mind now. Say hi to everybody. Look at the green dot up at the top.
Hi.
Hi. How old are you?
5.
5. My 5-year-old little girl. Daddy's done. I'm going to come out in a couple minutes. All right, folks. There it is. And Morgan Snow, guess you have to put them to rest, yeah? Some of your demons that you thought were gone rearing their ugly head again. Yeah. We all have them. And facing your demons pushes them away. Look them in the face. Look them in the eye. Say, I got you. I got you. You're not going to control me. Pull yourself out and be aware of where you are. Be awake. And you'll be able to do that. All right, guys. I'm going to call it quits. I'm going to go join my family for the day. You have a good Sunday. I will see you all here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Standard, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Left Coast, and for the Intrepid radio program. And maybe tonight, I won't see you there, but if you go over to the Science Channel, you can watch Curse of the Bermuda Triangle. I have got a small part in this TV series. It's launching tonight as a talking head expert. I'm not an expert on the Bermuda Triangle, but we talk about metaphysical things along with the physical things as well. So you might enjoy that show. I have no idea how long I'll be in that show. I have no idea if it's going to look good, work good, sound good, if it's going to mean what I wanted it to mean when we were talking about it. But they were all a great bunch of people to work with. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. So that's it for today. Thanks for being here. I will catch you all, hopefully, tomorrow. See you later.